Hello, from my fish room.
And, you know,
Mr. Chip says hello.
Hello, Mr. Chip.
Should I strip it?
Yeah, it's pink flamingo, strip pink flamingo. There you go, you can have one.
Forget that.
Just stick it with you.
I have no place to put it.
Look, Jimmy, I'm a human slider.
Going in. Oh, I'm sure. Because I started getting, like, my algae was starting to grow.
3, 4, 5.
This is what's cool, though.
Oh, there is.
Like, as far as like these nano lights, though.
Shrimps.
Yeah. Yeah. And I keep wanting to release the video.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Eggs in the male's mouth in an aquarium. They're like, oh, free lunch. Cool. Which is going to be a pretty cool video because it's just going to, that tank is just going to be like fucking Anubius and ranches. And people will just be like,
I get up, I go down there.
my strong suit. So I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, you don't want to play to it. I don't want to put that on the map.
Oh, wow. That is a cool
Well,
flower.
well,
What's
that's
that
what I mean.
called?
I don't know.
Well, that's how I can sell it to people that are like, I don't want that big fat bush. And I'm like, check it out.
Check it out. Yeah.
Because then you can sell it to the people that want to do pothos in their sump. And I'm like, just grow pogostemon yourself. It's illegal.
That's pretty cool. I haven't read.
Mic check, mic check.
Mic check, how's it going?
Hello world, how's it going? Hope you guys are all doing great. If not, I hope it gets better for you. So I'm here with Corvus Oscen. Is how you say it? Okay, got it right. AKA Joel.
Yeah, most people call me Joel.
Yeah. You got a YouTube channel too.
I do.
Oh, yeah. And you got some pretty sweet tanks back here. I'm loving them. So you want to tell us a bit about these?
Let's see, how many tanks do I have in here now? I only got 5 in here now.
Yeah,
and then 5 sumps
sweet.
on everything.
So let's check these out.
Yeah. So I got this tank and the one right behind it that's actually not set up right now. Custom built by Jason Gregory, who's a local builder out here in Western Washington. He's located up in Seattle. This is, what is it, 48 inch by 24 by 24, 120 gallons planet tank. And this is essentially a shrimp tank. That's the whole reason for this tank, is to basically breed, grow shadow pandas and blue bolts. That's basically the whole reason for the setup of this tank. It's been set up for about 3 months now. We just added shrimp about a month ago, and of course it is super hard to see them, even though there are like over 50 shrimp in here to start the colony out. As you guys know, I'm a plant aficionado, so I can't just set up a tank with just 1 or 2 types of plants. So of course there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't even know how many types of plants in here already. The main plants in here though are the Ludwigia arcuata, which is this plant right here in the middle.
That's arcuata?
Yeah. It's a tissue culture that was brought over, Chris Lucup brought that over for me, and starting to propagate it as much as I can, and I'm going to be passing some of that around. It's actually kind of an exceptional culture, I would say, and I'm pretty excited about it. The Christmas moss that's in here is kind of one of the big features too. That came from Green Thumb Aquascapers. And then the Pinnatifida is obviously the big plant in here. That's kind of the 3 main plants that are really in here. And this one came from Aquarium Co-op in Edmonds. Then everything else is just kind of a scattering mishmash, but like I said, this is just wholly a shrimp tank, so that's the whole reason for all the plants and rocks and driftwood and all that stuff.
Now, how do you keep your shrimp from going down into the sump? I see you run a lot of sumps here.
I don't.
You got a trick? You don't?
Mm-mm.
So they just go down there and then they keep breeding down there, right?
Oh yeah. Then you have 2 colonies.
There
you
you
got
go.
a sump colony and you got a main tank colony.
And
So I do have I have screens and stuff in the way of the overflow, but instead of getting aggressive with worrying about shrimp going down into the sump, I just allow them to go down into the sump, and eventually there will be a whole colony down here. Now, what is good about that is that the shrimp colony that ends up in the sump, these are the ones that are super easy to sell them when it comes time to make if it comes time to thin the herd a little bit and make a sale, or you know, maybe somebody from YouTube hits you up and they're like, hey, I need some shrimp out of that tank for sure. It doesn't hurt so bad. Instead of trying to get them out of the display, you can actually just pull them out of the sump and be like, hey, I've got 30 shrimp for you.
Like they net themselves.
Pretty much.
You got quite the rig going on in here. What is that, a CO2 diffuser?
So this line running right here is actually just an inline CO2 that, let me see, I think I have one that's still in the packaging. Yeah, here we go. Atman. So it's a Atman diffuser. I brought a couple of these in just because I wanted to try them out and see how well that they would work for, you know, just an average person.
You brought that in from China?
I have no idea. I don't know what any of this says.
One of them scrigglies?
I basically found it on Amazon and was like, oh, that's from it's made in China, but I'm not sure who it's supposed to be. Yeah, Shushang Electric, so it's probably you know, a Chinese brand or something like that. But it's just a simple inline diffuser that might have been a good option for people. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this though. It had more problems than I think I would just say like, yeah, go out and buy it. But considering how cheap it was, maybe somebody out there is like, it's worth it for them because it was only like $16 or something.
So you're just kind of testing it?
Yeah, so I was just testing that out. It does work.
You like it?
It does work, but you can also see like it's already got a lot of algae in it and it's leaking a little bit again. So the seals on it aren't that great. It is kind of cheaply made. And the diffuser inside here already has just a ton of gunk in it and stuff. So it seems to me that like maintenance on this negates really any of the money that was really saved in having purchased it. So we'll probably just go with a standard diffuser after this. Cut that line out of there and just put a new line in.
Right, live and learn, right? You got to test it all.
Yeah, you got to try it all.
Yeah, very cool. Now, anything else unique within this system you'd like to show off?
Oh, I don't know. It's a Trigger Systems Sapphire sump, this is actually a sump that's supposed to be on a reef.
Okay.
You know, because there just really isn't any company out there making a freshwater sump. There's a lot of modifications left to do this one. You can see I just have like some foam floating around down in here. I still got work to do on it to get a finalized setup so I can actually just show that to people. But really nice sump actually. It's kind of one of the fancier sumps I've ever owned. I mean, it has like colored acrylic top.
Yeah, that's pretty
It's
fancy. I'm a sucker for blue. It's
Yeah.
actually one of my favorite colors. DC pump controller. Now that's to regulate the power. and
So
the
this
flow?
pump actually just is the controller that controls the speed on this pump that returns back up to the main display. So water comes down over here, flows through each chamber, and then gets returned back up there. So all the heater, all the equipment, all that stuff is all down here.
Nice.
That's where it's like people ask me like, how do I get rid of, you know, all the heater and all that kind of stuff that's up in their display? It's like, well, get a sump and put it all down there.
Yeah.
And then you get a tank like this that has no equipment in it.
Right, and you could put like a panel here if you didn't want to see it, but you're growing plants in here, so it's almost like auxiliary tanks. It's just an extra tank.
Basically.
Another tank.
Yeah, another tank plumbed into the system, so it's added filtration. There's a bunch of stuff you can do with it, like grow plants in it, and you have added water volume too. So if you had like a small tank up here, like if you switch this around, like let's say this tank was the display tank, you could have a 120 gallon sump underneath it, and you could have a fish that maybe needs really stable water but doesn't need a ton of swimming space.
Right.
You know, you could set up something like
or
that.
a ton of little fish in one small tank, and they'd still turn out healthy.
It'd still turn out healthy because the water quality would still be good.
That's kind of a neat idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did that. We did that on a reef tank a long time ago.
Oh,
so we had
did you?
this tiny display built into a counter.
Is that on your channel?
No,
Oh.
that was a long time ago. But we
For
did.
YouTube.
We did like a tiny reef display that was all SPS coral. That was just plumbed in. But there's the giant sump was underneath the counter. So you just had this little 20-gallon tank on top of the counter, and of course every reef guy that would come in is like, how are you doing this? It's like, of course they'd come around to the other side and go like, oh, that's how you're doing it. Okay, cool.
Right.
You know, but it definitely got people to come look at it.
Yeah, yeah. That's really cool. Awesome.
Plus, you know, if you have stuff like catappa leaves, you can just throw those down there.
Yeah.
Let them do their thing.
Get your tannins in there without ruining the aquascape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. Very cool, and I absolutely love this tank back in the bank. Are you talking about the one that you're building, or are you saving that, or?
Oh yeah, no, we talked about this the other day. I actually took the brown paper plastic coating off of it. This tank is actually going to be bamboo shrimp. So I'm actually going to be ordering in the bamboo shrimp from, I don't know if you know that guy Corey. Have you ever heard of him?
I don't think so.
Colby Jack, have you heard of that guy?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
We're going to be getting those. This is all going to be bamboo shrimp. So this is actually going to be Vicky's tank. She ordered this up from Jason, the same guy. And so we made basically the mirror tank to it here. This is another 120 gallon. And these moon rocks, we actually went, Jimmy,
cool.
Corey,
Oh,
myself,
those
and Chris, we all went down to Area 51 and got these down there, these moon rocks, which they are a lava-based rock, but they are really uniquely strange.
Yeah, they are.
You know, and it's sort of one of those things that, you know, if you run this by a guy in the rock yard, basically what it boils down to is that this is lava rock that was thrown and then it's been sitting in the wind and sun for a really long time. How long that is, I don't know. Because the guy's like, it could be 100,000. I don't know how long it's going to be. But we got those. So this is all going to be...
Are they really heavy or are they light?
They're actually pretty...
Rock?
They're... You know, you can actually just grab that one. I'll give you an idea.
So they're like medium density. Yeah, they got some weight to them.
It's got some weight to it, but it's not
it's like inside it though.
Yeah, but
weird.
it's not super heavy. Yeah.
So that's not like lava rock though.
The only rock in here that's heavy is that one right there.
Huh.
Which
This is really intriguing.
It was really hot out when I carried that one across the desert.
I'm kind of a rock hound too, so.
Yeah. So those are really cool, and people keep asking me where to get them. I'm like, just drive to Nevada, and eventually you'll find them. I don't know, maybe.
Free, right?
Yeah, yeah. So this will be all Anubius and bamboo shrimp. That's basically what this whole system is going to be.
That'll be tight, especially with the sump. They'd be able to fan a lot.
Yep. It's really easy to take care of bamboo shrimp if you have a sump set up, because you can really do a lot more flow. First of all, you can have a lot of return flow, and it's super easy to feed them because you basically are just feeding into the pump, and then it's going to return up into the tank but not be suspended on the top of the water. That's almost the biggest problem that everybody has feeding bamboo shrimp, is that they go to put fine food in there and then it just sits around on the top and never actually circulates within the tank, so they can actually fan feed and stuff.
Now, what are you planning on feeding them? Do you know?
What's that?
What are you planning on feeding them? Do you know?
I'll let you know about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
stay up to date on his channel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, we'll show you the feeding and stuff for sure.
Sweet.
What other tank we got? This one.
Sweet one.
This is the little tank. Eesh. Poke the glass and they're all sassy. So this tank right here is an 8-foot, 240 gallon. I got a light attacking me.
Attack of the lights.
There we go. So this is an 8-foot, 240 gallon aquarium. I've had it forever. I think Sea Clear made this one. So it's 2 foot tall, 2 foot deep. I think people could probably figure out I like the 2 foot tall, 2 foot deep acrylic tanks. And we've got Rummy Nose Tetra. There are actually 3, I always say this wrong. Shodentai, how do you say that? Scoot and Fruity Puffers? Shodentai? Shodentai? I don't know. What is it, Spotted Congo Puffers. There's actually 3 in here that I got from Preston, who's down in Arizona. He actually has a website now that you can actually get them. You can order them from him. What else is in here? The Super Red, Bristlenose Plecos. There's the Apisto Orange Flasher in here. But this is such a big tank and there's so much stuff in it that if you want to see the Apistos, you have to go back there and just stare back in the corner and wait for a long time.
So I like that. It's kind of like one of those Where's Waldo.
Yeah. So they are breeding in here, but one of the pairs lives back there, and one of the other pairs lives back there, and they defend their territory and don't really come out. If I put a lot of food in here, they'll come out to the middle of the tank, and you can probably see them. And then the cherry shrimp colony in here, to give you an idea, like how many cherry shrimp are in here. And this is another reason why sumps are so useful.
Yeah, see them all down there.
So there's one. Yeah. Oops, lost him. Popped out. Ah. This makes for a bad video, and I'm like, check out how fast this is. So people on Instagram realize like that I feed the cherry shrimp. I pull them out of the sump, and then I add them up into the display for the puffer fish. So this is a pretty much a self-sustaining tank. The only food that I've added to this tank is some snails for the puffer fish. Right now they're just really not out because the lights have been out for a couple of hours, and so they're pretty kind of dormant as far as the puffers go. I think I saw Jimmy was getting pictures of one of them.
Yeah, I've seen a couple, but they kept running.
But yeah, they're really surprisingly hard to get pictures of for whatever reason. I don't know why.
They're really about hit the button and then they took off.
They're really comfortable in this tank and everything, and they're doing well, but it's just hard to get pictures of them. But yeah, this tank has been growing for, I don't know, about a year and a half. Having problems off and on. My goal with this tank is to do 0 water changes. So I've been basically everything that I've been doing chemistry wise with this is just fertilizer driven. So I haven't done a water change on this, which this will be a Lucas Brett's exclusive. I haven't done a water change on this in 2.5 months. So we are battling algae and moving past algae and stuff like that, but like I said, we haven't done a water change. I've done top offs, but I haven't dumped and filled any amount of water into this tank. So that is the ultimate goal of this, is to, you know, basically have a system that I don't have to do a water change on. That, yes, maybe I'll grow algae, maybe it'll get a little bit ugly, but the water is always healthy for the fish in here and stuff. So this is really the only tank that I do any kind of testing on, just to see if you know, ammonia, if there's any ammonia showing up or anything like that, and consistently it doesn't. So, which you can see, like one of the visual cues that I follow on this tank is the duckweed down here. So another useful thing for having a sump, part of the filtration that's in here is the duckweed. So I can keep an eye on how much duckweed is growing and replicating, and it gives me a real visual cue as to like what's going on with the water, if I need to add more fertilizer or dial it back, and figure out where to go. So sort of what I'm doing is kind of stealing from the reef culture right now, where people are trying to do the Triton method. I'm basically trying to come up with a system that maybe isn't 100% no water changes, but maybe you only do water change once every 3 months or something like that. And just how to manage it in a way that actually works, and of course have a list of going like, okay, if you go with this substrate and these lights and this temperature and this is what you're doing and that kind of stuff. But obviously it's a long project, it's going to take a long time. So.
Oh yeah, balancing.
But it is coming along pretty well.
Yeah.
No real complaints.
Absolutely beautiful.
And if anybody's wondering what this stargrass is, because everyone on your everyone on your channel will ask. So it's Hedernanthera zosterfolia.
And it's like that because you keep it all trimmed up.
Right now, I was about to trim it today.
Doesn't it grow like stringier usually?
It will eventually. So I can actually show you, because was planning on trimming stuff today, and then I remembered, oh yeah, Lucas is coming. So you can see down here, as it starts to grow up, right? So you see how like there's a tier here, and then there's another level right here. So it's like you see how that space to that space, and then going down to the front also. My arm's not long enough to reach down there. Let's have my stool. But you can see as we like grab some of the long stuff, but right here, like there's no foliage at all down here, and the roots are starting to become aerial roots, right? it'll eventually shade out everything underneath, and the only stuff that looks good is the stuff on top. So once you kind of reach this 10-inch mark up here, you basically need to pull everything out, trim the tops, and replant it.
Now,
That's gonna
will
be
it
your best bet.
detach itself after a while if you don't? 'Cause I know some
It-
plants will do that.
when it gets really high up, but it essentially stays bound to itself. Like all of the, the fine roots and stuff like that will all kind of tangle together.
Intertwined. That's cool.
But yeah, all the little tops and stuff. See how that can just pull out that whole piece? It's because it's just kind of living on top of the other stuff.
I want to know what this plant over here in this corner is. This big one just floating off the top. It's kind of like bulbitis, but
It is
not what
bulbitis.
Is that a bulbitis?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
So-
lord!
This is how big I grow
Is
them.
that Hudolati?
Yeah.
Oh my
So,
lord!
here's one of the leaves right here.
I've never seen it that big and thick.
So you can see how it's like starts out small
Yeah.
back there. Let me see if I can actually pull this out and show you how big it is. This one
That
plant.
is a monster Hudolati.
I'm probably gonna stick this in Corey's 800 gallon when he's not looking, and then he'll be like, "What?" Let's see if I can even get it out of here.
Oh my gosh! You're about to pull that whole thing out? What?
There's a couple of them in here.
Wow. Look how broad them leaves are. Like, those are bigger, thicker than my finger. That's
I
insane.
don't know if I can get it out. It's stuck. Well, give you an idea right here. So there's part of it.
Holy moly.
Yep.
Thing's a beast.
Oh, here's its. There we go. There's part of its rhizome here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's grabbed onto a bunch of wood. But there's part of the rhizome. Give you an idea of like how big it is.
Yeah, that thing is thick. Oh my gosh.
And then this is one of its like offspring. So that the big one is stuck. This is the little one.
Wow.
It's got a
That's
little.
the little one.
This is the little one.
Little big one.
It's its baby.
Beautiful plant.
It's got a little bit of hair algae on it. It's got a little too much direct light on it, but. Hui. But yeah, that one has given birth to basically everything else down here too. So that plant right there started out like this. This is actually one of my little killifish and snail experiments down here. But here's some more. Yeah. So there's like one of the little ones. A bunch
Such a cool plant.
and then you can like sneak in here and then come out with a rabbit snail. Who's in here?
Ooh,
Oh, trap door.
mystery.
Mystery snail. Yep. And then there's a bunch more of these down there. And so originally, like that one started out as basically like a trimming, like half of that.
And how long did it take you to grow? Sometimes they can be slow.
I think maybe probably about a year realistically to get it that big, to get it this big.
Well, that's a lot. That's good growth.
Because once you can get the rhizome established enough and get it thick enough, it'll start growing like that. It'll start growing, start throwing like much bigger leaves.
Very cool.
Then of course, you need CO2 and fertilizers and that kind of stuff. And you also can't, it's not a plant that you can leave in an area that doesn't have a good amount of, so you have to have like, what's the word I'm thinking of? Oh, we disturbed one of the puffers.
Oh yeah, he's out. Better get him while I can. Two of them.
Oh yeah, there's another one. Guess they were hiding out back there, huh? Sleeping. Sleeping in the corner.
They
Getting
like the
weird.
Bovitis.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the things, like, people will see this tank and they're like, I don't know what, there's like as many fish as you're talking about. I'm like, they are like just in there, like hiding out, doing their
Mystery
thing.
tank.
But like with that Bovitis, like you need to have a good amount. Like you can see how much like stuff there is floating in the water now because we moved that. It's like, it's one of the things you need. Mulm, basically. You need some mulm where they're at, where their rhizomes are going to be at. Otherwise, it really slows them down. Like they'll just.
So they like to
don't
feed
do
off
well.
the mulm.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Kind of like dirt anyway.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like the beginnings of dirt.
Right.
Starts out as poop. Well, now it's like hard to film in there because I messed it up.
That's still beautiful.
But also one of the good things about having a sump is it'll be clear in probably 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Something like that, half an hour.
I love, like, you had a video where you're like pulling out plants and like redoing scapes and stuff, and like you just watch the mulm being swept away.
Yep. Yeah,
And it
one
just
of the
cleans it right up.
one of the big things about running sumps, and that's like how we cleared out Corey's really big tank, is that instead of trying to filter horizontally to the ground, we're filtering perpendicular, right? So the water, like if this is the sump, the filter pad is this way and the water's moving through it, which if you look at a lot of the old designs, everything's horizontally going down into the filter floss, going down through all that kind of stuff. It actually doesn't work that well because we have gravity, right? So it's like gravity is the one thing that's feeding that system, but it's also what's pulling against that system working properly, right? Does that make sense? So it's like you end up with just a clogged area, whereas if you have it going vertically like this, as you, like this gets clogged up, you move into the next cleaner area, right? And then the next cleaner area every time you step up. So if you look
sections
down here, I got a little extra water is coming down into the system right now, but you can see how the filter floss is perpendicular like this, how it's like brown, and then clear, whiter at the top. So as the tank gets dirtier, this will hold back a little more water and then clean anything that goes through. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can kind of gauge it too with just that white.
And like when it's time to change it out, you can visually see, oh, the water level's even coming up. So like maybe you couldn't tell that this was brown, but if the water level's regularly running right here, then it's like, oh, it's up here now instead. You go, oh, I got to change that pad out. Makes it a lot easier for people. So if you have like a canister filter or something like that, it gets really confusing when you're like, I'm not sure what's going on inside there, because it's like, you know, it'd be like a black plastic trash can. You're like, I don't know what's going on in there. And then you open it up and, well, actually everything's fine. Okay. Or it's like just been clogged up for however long it's been closed. That's what happened to me a long time ago, and that's when I was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do canister filters anymore. And that's when I decided to start buying cheap tanks and making sumps out of them.
Doing sumps, yeah, I like it because this is like completely different from what I do.
I've
kept sumps.
I used to
do
just
like
buy all
them.
the broken tanks.
Yeah.
Yep. And make sumps out of them. Because you can buy just a broken
this
tank
used
or
to
something
be a
that's all
tank then.
scratched up. This one didn't. But I can actually show you a tank that would be a perfect example of like what I would get and build a sump out of. So like this tank right here. So this tank, it's all scratched up. It was an old, like somebody had it set up as a reef or whatever. But it's kind of an ugly tank. It's all scratched up. It's been beat up and kicked and all that. So like it's not going to make a great display. It would take a lot of work to like shine this up, buff it, do all that stuff, you know, clean the back, plug all the bulkheads, do all this kind of stuff, like this weird top piece. Like, so basically what I'll end up doing, you know, I got this tank for I think $75, You know, and it's a 140 gallon tank. You know,
Nice.
so I just drove over, picked it up, and I just have it here as a project tank. So if somebody needs a sump or something like that, we can just go ahead and whip one up real quick. I just have it. This is obviously my crazy Frankenstein workshop, so you know,
painting picture over there.
oh yeah, this is my weird space. This is where I get to be a slob and don't have to really. Well, I have to answer to the lady, but not as much, you know.
Right.
Like if I'm a
Your
slob in
little
my office,
sanctuary.
she gets mad, or the kitchen, or the bathroom. In here,
is
she still gets
yours.
mad, but you know, not as often. She doesn't come out here very much. But yeah, that's a good example of like the kind of tanks I used to get, and then I would just make a sump out of those. Somebody's gonna throw it away.
Yeah, might as well. Very cool. And then you're doing something else a lot of freshwater people don't get into,
Oh yeah,
which is right behind you.
always doing reef stuff. Why not? It's easier than most people think.
Now, you've been reefing for a while, haven't you?
long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is a 60 gallon cube, and then it's got a 32 gallon sump on it. I think one of my favorite parts to deal with on this. I don't know why the refugium light's off now. Let me see. I'll turn it back on. There we go. So the refugium, we're growing macroalgae down here. So we're growing plants in the sump.
Yeah.
And this is one of the big ways that we. So this is Cato right here. This little wiry stuff,
Yeah.
and this is Calatophora.
That bulb, like bulbous stuff.
Yeah. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
So we're actually using a plant light, terrestrial plant light, to grow all this in the sump.
Oh yeah.
This is part of like how we actually clean the water. So the skimmer, which actually just pulls proteins and poop and stuff like that, actually just ride on the water tension and land in the skimmer cup, which I actually cleaned out today, so you wouldn't have to like try and film a real poopy.
So usually a little
Poopy
more
skimmer
fuller.
cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, the skimmate comes out of here. It's all dark and gross and smells real bad, and it's pretty much what you'd think of a cup full of fish poop, pretty much. Yep.
Right.
And then the rest of the filtration is basically all of this algae down here. The macroalgae will just pull all the extra nutrients out of the water by growing, you know.
Nice.
So, really simple. You think of the biological filtration that's in here. You know, people that only do freshwater tanks get really confused because they're like, live rock, what are you talking about? The freshwater version of what essentially live rock would be I think I got some over here. Hold on a second. Whoa! Watch out, Jim. This would be the freshwater version. Ceramic biorings, where all of your
So it's the same as just holding bacteria.
biological filtration is just all bacteria.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's all denitrifying bacteria and stuff, all lives within the rock. It's all very porous rock, and then we grow beneficial algae on it, and then of course coral and fish and all that stuff. And
Now, do you find it tougher to keep saltwater, or about the same as freshwater, or do you think that's because of your experience? What do you think?
yeah, I would say that if you were somebody that did a planet aquarium, you're already 90% there.
Okay.
As far as like you'd understand water testing, and like you have to maintain your chemistry, you have to have the proper lighting and all that stuff. Those are all really parallel patterns of thought, realistically. It's like, oh, okay, I need to test for these things, and this is the system, and I got to do water changes, and oh, okay. If you're doing planet aquariums and you want to come over and do a reef tank like this, it's actually pretty easy. It's not as scary. What ends up happening is if people have never kept an aquarium before, and then they go and they're like, I'm going to keep a reef, they put a lot of money into it, and it's going to crash because they're just not, you just don't have the reps. You're just not used to taking care of an aquarium, and it's much easier to let this get out of hand, and then next thing you know, some problem happens and you don't know how to deal with it because you've never done it before. But if you're somebody that's done planted tanks, moving over to reef is pretty easy. You're just going to be learning new stuff and certain things like a skimmer and stuff like that. You'd be like, huh? And then, of course, somebody will explain it to you, and you're like, oh, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so there you have it. There's some of Oscen's, Corvus Oscen's tanks.
Yeah. Thanks
Very
for coming
cool.
out.
Yeah.
Coming out
thanks
to
for
my
having
tiny
me.
fish room.
This is very, very, very spectacular.
I need to get 300 tanks and put them in here. And then I'll have
Do
to come
ya?
out.
Do
again.
you? I don't think you'd have tanks like this if you had 300 tanks, so
I just get
it'd
300
be hard.
nano tanks, really nano tanks. They're
So-
all half gallon.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that the dream?
Is that the dream? No, I did that before.
Oh, have you?
I used to have like
Okay.
way too many tanks.
Yeah?
Now I just do big ones because it's better.
Yeah, what you enjoy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. And anything you'd like to say to my subscribers before we hop off?
Not really.
No?
Yeah, just have a good
tell
time.
ya, yeah, go check him out. He gets wild. He gets weird. It's
I get
It's a
weird.
good time. You really got to check out his live streams. They are fun. Super fun.
Yeah.
And
If you need to fall asleep, come check out one of my live streams and put you right to bed. Yeah.
But yes, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. And have a great one, everybody. Like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz.
Oh, yeah.
Till next time.
Like buttons?
Push them. Peace, everybody.